the scenes, up front and personal, editor with us. Eliza, I'm really excited to have you here, and we're going to start our presentation. But to me, you're one of the top industry editors. Your background is amazing, and we're going to talk about your bio with Dermatology Times and how resilient and adaptability your doctors are, but you are too, because you move from one to the other, and you're doing such an amazing job. So I'm so glad you're here to join us today, and everybody else is here. I know that you have a lot of industry knowledge that you want to share, and this probably won't be the only behind the scenes interview we do. So I don't want anybody to be left behind, and I want everybody to be on. I am Cheryl Whitman, the CEO of Beautiful Forever Consulting, and all of our webinars are actually sponsored by Beautiful Forever University, which is actually in pre-launch right now. So we're really excited to have you as part of our interviews today, and there will be a link if anybody can't stay on for the whole interview. But there's all kinds of trends and all kinds of things going on in 2021. And all of us really right now want to look ahead. We can't look behind. We can't look at the current situation. So we're trying to say, okay, here we have the top editor in aesthetics. Let's move forward. Let's see what's out there. Let's move to 2021. And I think, you know, we might have even talked about it. Somebody mentioned, I thought it was great, like, when is that ball going to drop? And like, we're all ready for the ball for 2021 to drop. This will be the best year yet. So we want to all stay in all of our businesses and all our positions ahead of the game. And our physicians, our providers, and all of their staff have to stay ahead of the game and stay with what's going on now and roll with everything. So moving ahead, you know, right now, everybody's very much into video conferencing, virtual consults, and how do we do it? How do we do it and stay on top of everything? Everybody has 12 Zooms they're invited to, lots of publications to read. You have quarterly, from what I understand, you know, productions that you're actually printing and mailing out, which is great because we haven't seen a lot of that lately. And then every day, from what I understand, you're updating information. So the Aesthetic Authority, which you will talk about, and we have a little video to show about that. And it's new and it's this year. So we're really excited that it's all new and it's happening right here. So I know you're, we're gonna go into your information next in your bio. But you're a content-savvy editorial writer and award-winning writer. So 15 years of experience is a long time. And so, you know, in this medical trade industry, coming from the cosmetic surgery times, which, you know, we were all involved with all of that for so long, and Dermatology Times, which is currently a sister publication, I'll call it, because people are a little confused about all these mergers and acquisitions that are happening out there. But you're currently, which we'll talk about, say, editor of Aesthetic Authority. And so it's a multi-specialty platform that I'm excited to even be part of one day soon. And a lot of robust, up-to-date, up-to-the-minute information. And you hold a BA in English from Louisiana State University and an MA from New Mexico State University. So it sounds like you're a real student. So there's many highlights for today's talk, and behind the scenes editor who usually doesn't do interviews. I'm very excited that you're here with us today at Beautiful Forever University. And so the next slide, we're going to actually have a little video, which is an intro for you and an intro for Aesthetic Authority. So we're excited for that. And if we get to the next slide.
Aesthetic Authority leads in advancing the discipline of aesthetic medicine by providing demonstrative content that educates and supports a multi-specialty generation of practitioners to build their businesses, providing a fresh, intelligent, diverse perspective from practicing aesthetics safely, ethically, and with integrity.
First thing we need to do is to be good physicians and have a good knowledge of medicine when we're doing any aesthetic treatment or surgery, and
And the number one thing is education. At the end of the day, there's nothing that changes what you need to do for education.
Empower your expertise.
Well, thank you for that. And that was wonderful. I love that little intro so everybody can understand who's behind the scenes and what is going on. So being a top editor, I mean, I'm sure it's not easy because things are changing so fast and there's so many new things happening. But I know that we talked about, you know, some of your new procedures and new things that are going on out there. And, you know, I know you support the content for a lot of these doctors and these new trends and new procedures that are going on. So what would you say is the most interesting, innovative things that you're involved with today that we all should be taking a closer look at and reading more about in aesthetic authority?
Well, first I want to say thank you, Cheryl, for having me on today. It's a real pleasure. And yes, I typically am just a behind the scenes kind of gal. I work with an incredible advisory board that's made up of aesthetic dermatologists, plastic surgeons, facial plastic surgeons, and they're really the smart ones behind all of this. I'm simply an orchestrator. So, so this is the first for me, and it is kind of exciting.
Okay.
But, you know, I think that looking forward, we kind of have to look at what we're doing right now. And I think that, you know, as you mentioned, we're going to be very happy to shut the door on 2020. You know, but we don't really know what's going to happen in 2021. What we do know is that our physicians and the patients themselves have proven to be very adaptable during these times. There are a lot of limitations, challenges, constraints, and we're really seeing our physicians rise to those challenges. Our summer issue just went to print, and we do have it available in a digital format on our website. We've got a couple of stories in there that I'd like to talk a little bit about that demonstrates this adaptability. One is Dr. Sunil Chilakuri, who's a dermatologist in Houston. He has some of the body toning technologies that just came out last year, you know, designed for aesthetic purposes to build abs and buttocks and, you know, muscles that you typically have to go to the gym to develop. But what he's done is during the shutdown, he found a way to apply these in a functional manner. So he discovered that patients, as a result of you know, being less active during quarantine, were experiencing some muscular issues. And so what he's done is taken something that's aesthetic and created this functional medical application, which I think is really interesting. And that is just one way that our doctors are demonstrating their adaptability. But really, that's what we do in this specialty. It's how we move it forward. I've got another story from Dr. Joel Cohen, Denver, Colorado, who, you know, has found that his patients are willing to take a little bit more downtime right now. And so he's able to combine treatments in different ways, adding additional things that he normally wouldn't, but that are really enhancing results.
And that's great. I mean, we're happy to see that people are not putting their head in the sand and they're really trying to make things work, because for the first couple of months, people were just really stuck. But right now, yes.
Yeah, we didn't know where we were going, you know, what was going to happen and what was going to happen when the doors reopened. But, you know, you mentioned virtual consults a few minutes ago. And really those virtual consults we've seen our physicians really wrap their arms around them. And we've seen this blossom into these great relationship building tools, if you will. Ironically, it's bringing physicians and patients closer together. And, you know, during the shutdown, doctors were doing interesting things too, like creating skincare packages that they could send. You know, we can't see you, but we're going to make sure we put things into your hands that's going to, you know, help you maintain until you can get back into the office. So just some really interesting things that that we saw pop up.
Yeah, and I saw huge increases in the retail.
Right.
And I mean, that was huge, like you said. So whether it was a drop-off, pickup, or we'll mail to you products that you can use at home to make you feel good and look good. And there's more and more people talking about, how do I look good wearing a mask? And how does my skin look good for a Zoom event? As you probably went through looking in the mirror before we got on today. So there's so many things out there. And unfortunately, you know, the states are opening and closing. We don't know what's happening where, but we know sooner or later. And we are all adapting. And that's where we started all of the Zoom and Facebook Lives. But, you know, there's talk about a new long-lasting neurotoxin. I don't know much about it except what I've read in press releases. So maybe you can just give us like one sentence on it or some intro on it.
Sure, this is something that the specialty is really looking forward to. The product is called Daxi, and it's a product that Revance is bringing to market. It expects to have an FDA approval as soon as November of this year. The interesting thing about this product is that it has been shown in studies to last for 6 months. So it's a longer lasting neurotoxin, which would simply offer an added convenience. We don't have to go in to get as many injections as frequently and that kind of thing. But amidst concerns about it taking over the other products, it really has a specific place. It's not for your first time neurotoxin users. It's a stronger product, so it's probably going to be frequently used in men who we know need something a little bit extra because they've got stronger muscles, and it's probably going to be for your filler patients who maybe are already coming in twice a year, just to sort of link those two up. And it's for people who want that stronger, I don't want to say frozen, but the stronger effects of the neurotoxin, not for somebody who wants a sort of a soft effect. They're not going to want Daxi.
So it's definitely much more of not a natural look. Is that what you're saying? Something that would be more like my eyebrows would be up here?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just for, there's this sort of continuum with injectables where, they can use the injectables to soften lines and soften expressions so that you still can express. And some people prefer that. Some people don't want certain areas to move at all. And so, they may need a little bit more, and Daxi will be a great solution for that.
Well, I think it's great because time and money, and now that most physicians are seeing, or providers are seeing, less patients per day because of COVID. I think in a way it's a godsend, and I think it would be great because if you can go in twice a year opposed to going in every 3 months, I think is great. It also will help with patient financing options because right now, if you can't afford to take off work or you can't afford to go in and pay every 3 months, like Care Credit has a patient financing option where you could pay it out over a 6-month period. So by the time you finish paying it out, you can start again. So I think it'll help people with time management and with money management. There was something interesting that I saw a press release on, and we're both not experts in it, but the FDA just approved the first injectable treatment for cellulite, which is pretty amazing because there really is nothing. Years ago, there were some things that they used that they claimed did it. But the Endo International received from the FDA approval of QWO for the treatment of moderate to severe cellulite. And I thought that was really interesting. And I'm sure in the near future, you'll be writing more about it and talking more about it as it comes to the forefront.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, I haven't heard of another injectable solution yet. There are other solutions, Sulfina, cellulase, those kinds of products, but there's definitely a market for cellulite.
Yeah, because I think the market is really open as far as for injectables, especially for a woman's buttocks or the back of their legs. And I think that it's recognized as it's needed in the industry for, as we both understand that. So, we see that there's new things happening, new terms, new stress, self-care, masks. What can you tell us that you've been writing about? Like what's hot news and hot topics in aesthetic authority?
Well, you know what? Let's talk about technology for a minute, because that's a big one, especially if we're talking about trends that we expect to see in 2021. Innovations and advancements in technology are not going to slow down. Just today, Candela announced that it's bringing 11 new devices to market over the next 18 months with the help of a manufacturing solutions company called Jabil Healthcare. We are actually publishing an article on this later today, but that's what's happening right now, and that's what we can expect to happen in the next several months. All of these new technologies coming to the market. Just this year, we've had information that we've published on a new ultrasound technology called SoftWave. It's as opposed to the high intensity ultrasound of Ulthera, it's got what's called an intense ultrasound beam, IUB technology. And it's said to be much more tolerable, which, is always a good thing. Another recent advancement that just came out, or is just coming out, I don't even believe it's available quite yet, Cutera's Fraxis Pro, which is a combination of fractional CO2 with RF microneedling. We haven't seen this before. So there's really an overarching trend with technology too, and that is that it's in the aesthetic space, it's really part of this quest to close the gap between surgical and non-surgical procedures. Obviously, surgery is always going to have a place, and I still think it's going to continue to have a strong place, even as we move into 2021. Sort of a pervasive trend has been, what can we do to get those surgery-like results without, going into surgery and having similar kinds of downtime. So I don't know how familiar you are with Dr. Mike Nyack's work. He's a plastic surgeon in St. Louis, Missouri. He's really a surgical master when it comes to the nose and the neck, and his results are really incredible. And he's done a really great job of also branding himself as such. He's known by using the hashtags neck by Nyack, neck or nose by Nyack. And all of this to say, in our most recent issue, he talks about achieving, in some cases, better results than with your traditional surgical facelift with a face-tight device. So, doctors aren't necessarily arguing anymore about is surgery or not, the minimally invasive going to get you better results, but they're finding ways to make both work. And so, in terms of technology, I think that, we're going to continue to see more and more of that.
Do you think the physicians are really looking now to spend money on new technology? I mean, where does that stand? Because I know that it's coming out. I know it's available, but I also know by talking to clients and being a consultant and being on phone all day long, people want to spend less right now because they're scared or they've lost so much in the last 6 months.
We actually had a webinar with my medical advisor, Dr. Randolph Waldman, and several key CEOs from different companies, including Revance and some of the big ones. And what we heard over and over again was that right now, these technologies, they're committed to helping physicians right now. And they've got programs in place where, they're doing trade outs or they're doing financing, and they really want to be able to continue to put the most recent advancements into the physician's practice. And they recognize the challenges right now. But I'd encourage anybody who wants to know a little bit more about that to go to our website and check out the webinar so that you can get those details specifically from those executives themselves.
No, I think that's great. I know that a lot of the companies are saying you can exchange, upgrade, or not pay until 2021 because they also want to make sales and they want their equipment out there. So we're all in the same place. We want to help. That's why we're on the webinar today. We want to help people be successful. We want to give them the knowledge they need and the tools they need. And as consultants, we're doing that all day long. Can you tell somebody what to buy? No. What we can do is put in front of them some options and then best to what their demographics are and how much they can get for a procedure. But I think going back to what you said before, it's very interesting. I think people are looking for less and less invasive and more non-invasive, like the physician you talked about earlier, or the technologies. People really don't want to go under the knife. They don't want the downtime. They're nervous about anesthesia. They're worried about pricing. I mean, there's many obstacles that stop somebody from saying yes to having surgery. And, I could tell you, I'm a grandmother, but I would do anything I could that's non-surgical. So, it's interesting. And I think that's where a lot of people are thinking. it used to be like, you know, everything was between the ages of like 40 and 50 and 60. Now it's starting in the teens, and now it's going up into well into the 80s. So we've expanded, you know, our menus. We've expanded our age ranges, the men, the ethnic groups, the LGBTQ communities. I mean, there's lots of communities that now still are open for these physicians to market to. And I have some recent webinars and some future ones coming out on those. So, you know, people want to return to live meetings. And the truth is that people are nervous. You're nervous. I'm nervous. Everybody's nervous. We don't know what's going to happen. The virtual meetings have been pretty successful. It's not the same thing for people in schools or kids in schools or adults getting the masters. It's not the same as working with somebody side by side and having discussions. Zoom is doing their best, as well as WebEx and lots of others, but it's not the same. So when you look to return to meetings, what are you thinking that's going to happen in the near future?
Oh, you know what? It's anybody's guess at this point. I mean, I really have my fingers crossed for the first meeting that I get to go back to be this fall. Dr. Randolph Waldman has his Global Aesthetics Conference in Miami in early November. But you know, again, we've had a recent resurgence of the virus, and we have to wait and see how things play out. I mean, like you said, right now, we don't even know if kids are going back to school yet.
Right.
So
it's true. As of today, I saw in Florida, which is a state that I spend my winters in, they're not going to go back as planned. And they usually go back early. They're mid-August, that they're going to wait. And so really, we don't know. But I think, you know, if the doctors can get the CMEs and the nurses and the estheticians can get their online accreditations, keep up, read trade magazines like yours, watch our webinars, stay on top of things. Beautiful Forever University is actually offering ongoing educational programs. A lot of it we do for free. And then obviously when it comes to one-on-one consulting, we do free consults, but we're also offering big discounts, especially for the smaller providers that really need a launch or to be motivated. And I think that right now, even in this stage, I had interviewed Dr. Stanley Acaro last week, but to save time and save money, those virtual consults are working very well. And I think moving into the future, a lot of the practices could have less staff and could make more money in a shorter amount of time with doing a 10 to 15 minute live consult, whether it's on Zoom or your telephone, I mean, however they want to do it, and actually closing the deals right then and there and booking appointments and not worrying about people who have to be waiting in the waiting room and be moved from room to room and then going to the room where they're going to close and be educated. It's all being done very seamlessly right now. And I think that's great. I know Solution Reach has a solution for it. I'm going to do a webinar on ongoing communication, how important it is to stay in contact. We're talking B2B, but when we talk B2C and direct to the consumer, it's very important for our doctors to stay on top of communication with their patients more now than ever. In the past, it used to be, okay, do a blog a month, do a newsletter a month, don't overwhelm. But right now, people want information. They want education. We're all home at night more than we're out. Even if we're going out to a restaurant, people are running home. They're not hanging out, I hope, at bars or clubs or big gatherings. So people have more time now to be educated at home, and I think that's great. Is there anything in wellness or functional treatments that are the new hot rage that you want to talk about?
Well, there are a couple of things. I mean, the one thing that I mentioned already was just this idea of, you know, being able to turn some of your aesthetic procedures, apply your aesthetic procedures to functional, such as, you know, Dr. Chillicurry. I talked about him using his body toning technologies to build muscle for functional reasons, not for aesthetic reasons. So I think that that's really interesting. Another thing is has to do with hair loss. We have an article in our issue right now that talks about stress-induced hair loss, and it's something that our physicians are seeing more and more of, and it's related to, you know, the current environment. Now, while not all aesthetic physicians treat hair, I think more and more are moving into that space, and partly because of the science and the products that are available for them to be able to do so. There's a lot more education happening in terms of treating hair loss and preventing hair loss and things of that nature.
Yeah, I think I'm a fan, and I definitely recommend it to my providers when we're working on menus, or what can we do to expand the menu, or for a startup that's starting. I mean, healthy hair, healthy skin, healthy scalp, that it starts there. So even if you're not doing anything surgical, there's a lot of non-surgical alternatives with light therapies, topical products that could be used, prescription, non-prescription. And I'm always a believer that it's a big topic. And also, if you think of like the old Bosley days, everything was all about men, you know. So now us women finally, you know, well, look, my hairline is receding, or for some people it's eyelashes and eyebrows are, you know, being lost. So there's lots of ways with the hair treatments, whether it's a surgical or non-surgical, that can be addressed. And I do think that that is a big trend. And I do agree with you that we all will be hearing and learning much more about it as we move forward.
Yeah, it's a topic we address in every one of our issues. So.
No. And, you know, there's all kind of vitamins that you could take, and all kind, you know, there's lots of companies out there offering all kinds of things. So I think, you know, that veins, there's so many topics that we can cover. I mean, you and I probably could sit and talk for about a week nonstop. Maybe we should do it on a beach somewhere with some good wine. But there's lots of topics to talk about. But I think that, you know, the trends for 2021 are what we're talking about, and then moving them forward and moving them ahead, because things are going to move slowly now, as we both know. And then hopefully things will just keep opening up in 2021 as far as hot topics and highlights go. So I think that, you know, investing right now in education, investing in yourself, investing in training your staff, because some of the providers are on all of these Zooms with us. But, you know, I'm a big believer as a consultant, you need to bring it back home. You're the leader, you're the owner, you need to bring it back to your staff and share the information. Don't assume they know what you know. And I think that staff training is just so important, and that communication. They're also stressed right now. It's not only, you know, the owner of the company or the doctor who's doing the injectables or fills or surgery. It's a staff. So there really should be ongoing, much more communication, even if it has to be like this with Zoom and not in person. But I think the providers really have to take a deep look at that. And I don't see that happening as much as it probably should be. So it doesn't have to be always about negative. It could be about what you've learned on the last webinar, or what you want to do, or what your goals are. And share that information with your team, because the team is behind you. If you don't have a good team, it's like a football game, and I'm not a big football person, but I know that the team has to all work very well together. And so, you know, when you have a consultant that's closing your deals for you, or helping you on the phone, or whoever is answering your phones for that matter, they need to be educated as well. So whether you are offering new technologies, whether you're offering a virtual open house, making things more affordable to everybody who maybe they thought they couldn't afford it, or maybe they lost their job now, how do I pay for it? Or I'm back to work, I don't have time for downtime, how can you help me? So everybody needs to be equally as educated. You and I are always working on educating the provider. As consultants, we are educating and training every day staff members, but I think there needs to be more of that. And I'm sure you would agree with me on that. Oh,
absolutely. You know, these doctors are incredible. I mean, not only are they medical physicians, but they're business owners, and they really have to rely on their staff for a lot. And so it's really important that the staff are up to date with what's happening with the practice, what the doctor is thinking about doing in terms of marketing or procedures, or processes and all of those things. So yeah, I completely agree.
And you and I both, are the type that want questions and answers. We've gotten a few today. We'll extend a few out to you. A couple of people were asking about what about online? What about, electronic medical records? I mean, we're not really getting into that today, but everybody should be now focusing on their core foundation of their business and then being able to expand it and grow it slowly. So if you want to add hormones or weight loss, or you want to add hair restoration, or what, you need to do it slowly. I have some physicians who are like, well, I want to do it all now. It's not smart. Become an expert, learn what you're doing, practice, teach your team, educate them, even on what to say when they're talking to patients or how to close a patient. And, the doctor could do the virtual consults, but also there's nothing wrong with your PA, a nurse practitioner, doing medical consults. I've seen a lot of positive there, as well as estheticians for skin, non-medical issues. And I think if people would learn how to utilize the staff and utilize the technologies that are out there, I think that there'd be a lot more virtual going on, which would save somebody like myself from going to an office, which would be great. I can do it from home. I could fill out my paperwork from home, and I can book it from home. So the convenience of sitting on your couch or lying in your bed, to me, is great. And we all want to look good, whether we're out there wearing our masks or we're, on a Zoom like this. Everybody wants to look good and feel good. So I thank you for your time today. It was wonderful. And I really look forward to eventually having you part of our beautiful Forever University for more education, more information, and hopefully being able to be a writer and work with you closer, day to day.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much too, and have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you. So Beautiful Forever University is here, and we are actually mentoring, consulting, and we want to enhance and really work with knowledge and education. My background is business, but it's also in education. So I am really an educator by trade. So we want to help everybody out there that's listening today to be able to be more educated, save time, save money, learn from the experts, read all the information that we are writing in our books and in our columns that are being published every month, and request a 30-minute complimentary consultation. It could be valued up to $300, but the truth is, with our consultations, you will learn so much. We guarantee that you will take away lots of pearls that you can then use in your, whether it's single, small, esthetician, tattoo, artist practice, or large hospital-sized practice. So we encourage you to ask us more questions, send me questions, Cheryl at Beautiful Forever, and let us know when is a good time to have a complimentary consult. And I'd love to talk to you, and I have an amazing expert staff who have been with me for, some of them well over 20 years. So we have limited time offers, and so we have a pre-launch to the university. And for $199, it's amazing added value, because not only would you be a university member on pre-launch time, but we'll help you with practice assessments, mystery calls, ongoing education, access to our advisory team, and all of our inside information. And we will be having a lot of private, not open like this, interviews and information. And you will be getting large discounts on our consulting. So that alone is worth it. And I really look forward to meeting all of you in person one day. Save the dates. We have some amazing programs coming up. And so next week we have a great guest, Dr. Derek DeSilva, and it's going to be about 5 points of wellness and adding new profit centers to your menu. So stay tuned to that, because that's really interesting. And we have Dr. Susan Merman on the successful evolution of her brand, and how you evolve and how you change not only your practice, maybe moving your practice, expanding your practice, changing your practice. So she is a GYN who also has a laser center, hot new innovative ingredients for skincare products. We have Terry Wojak, famous trainer, educator, writer, has a couple of books, who's amazing. So she is going to be on. And then we have a really interesting topic the values and complexities of a Wikipedia page and what does it involve and who should really have a Wikipedia page. It's not something we talk about in our industry very often. So we have a guest, and Dr. Robert is amazing with knowledge and information about Wikipedia. So that's not only for aesthetics, but we will focus on that area. But if you have anybody else you want to invite, they're absolutely invited within any industry if they think they are worthy of having a Wikipedia page, and we'll learn what that means. Who can have a Wikipedia page and what does it mean to have a Wikipedia page? So it's really exciting to cover some of these wonderful topics, and we have a lot more that are not even listed here at the moment, from international cosmetic surgeons in Rome to information from Israel and what's going on there, everything aesthetic related and cosmetic related. So I look forward to seeing you. Save the dates. Any questions, just give us an email. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. Like us, make comments, and we look forward to seeing you next week.